Hi, Becky.
Hi, Rachel.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Listen, Tom and I were thinking about going to see a band tomorrow night. Would you guys like to come?
Oh, that's a great idea. Who are you planning to see?
Well, we thought about going to that jazz club in town. They have live music every Friday and it's meant to be excellent.
Wait a sec, I'll just ask Mark. Mark, it's Becky. She wants to know if we'd like to go to a jazz club tomorrow evening. Oh, sorry, Becky. Mark says he's not that keen on jazz. How about going to the Classical Music Festival at the university? It's supposed to be really good.
I'm not a big fan of classical music. I'm sure Tom would like it, but not me. Hang on, Tom wants to say something.
Why don't we go and see that local band, the Snowmen? They're playing at the Empire tomorrow and they've had great reviews.
Did you hear what Tom said?
Yes, but I'm not sure Mark would be interested. What kind of music do they play?
What kind of music is it, Tom?
It's rock, but it's a bit retro. They sound quite 1980s, so Mark should like it.
Tom says it's rock, but a bit retro, 80s music.
I doubt Mark would be interested. He hasn't seen a rock band for about 10 years. Wait a moment, I'll ask him. Tom's suggesting an 80s rock band.
Yeah, sounds good, let's do it.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Something a bit different.
Becky, are you still there?
Yeah.
Mark says yes. So what time does it start?
Hang on a moment, I'll pass you over to Tom. What time does it start?
Hi, Rach. It starts at 8, so should we meet outside at 7:30?
Great, see you there.
Oh, and tell Mark to wear something cool.
Annie.
Well, my music experience sort of started when I was 7. It was my grandmother who started it. She gave me a CD of samba music. I loved the rhythms. I played it constantly. My mum says I was always dancing to it. Samba music is a kind of Brazilian music which also has African rhythms, and it's very loud, very energetic. Eventually, I decided I wanted to play the music, not just listen to it, so I saved up and bought a drum. It was an atabaque. It's a drum you play with your hands. I taught myself to play it, and this year I played in my first street carnival. We were playing in the street, and people around us were dancing, and it was like my whole body was part of the rhythm. It was incredible. The best thing I've ever done. So now I've decided that I want to be a music teacher.
Jeff.
Yeah, well, my music experience was going to the opera. I was travelling through Italy with a group from university. We got to Verona, and there was this opera festival on. I wasn't really interested in opera, but my friends persuaded me to go. To be honest, it was a bit boring at first. But then it started to get dark. It was a clear night and you could see the stars. I was sitting next to one of the people in my group, Laura, and it was, romantic, sitting under the stars, listening to this amazing music. And, well, we've been together ever since. We even went back to Verona for our honeymoon, although we didn't go to the opera.
Erica.
Some of my friends ask why I like hip-hop, because they're into really different kinds of music. More pop, R&B, kind of more romantic. But I really like hip-hop. I think it started when I was about 16. I remember I was in a car with my brother and a friend of his who was older than me, and we were listening to Jay-Z, I think it was, and he was singing along. And I started noticing the words, which were really different from the songs I normally listen to. They were all about the place where he grew up and the tough times he had, things like that. Really different things from the songs I knew, which were all about falling in love and stuff. And I got so interested in it, and Rick, that was my brother's friend, he lent me some of his favourite albums, and I've listened to hip-hop ever since. And Rick, well, we're actually married now, so I guess you could say we met through hip-hop.
I watched this true crime programme last night. It was really disappointing.
What was it called?
It was so bad I've forgotten the name of it. The thing is, the trailer for it made it look really good.
Yeah, that's so often the case.
Some of these trailers really hook you in. They make TV series and films look a lot more interesting than they are.
Well, they spend a lot of time and money making trailers.
Really? I thought they just took a few scenes from films and sort of edited them together.
No, it's much more technical than that. I read an article about it.
So what do they do?
Well, some researchers did an experiment. They used software to follow the facial expressions of a group of people who watched trailers. Then these people were asked which of the films they'd like to see. So, from the facial expressions, they could work out whether the people were amused or fascinated or bored. And then they used this information to predict whether people would like to see the film or not.
But that's just research, isn't it?
Yeah, but it also meant film companies could use the information to come up with a model for making really motivating trailers.
So how does that work?
Well, I can only tell you what I read, but the most important things are the way the trailer starts a bit slowly and then builds to some kind of climax. And if you're going to have a longer scene in the trailer, that should be at the end of it.
So they've got it all worked out.
Looks like it.
Ugh, it's sort of depressing. More algorithms to make us do things.
Doesn't have to be. I mean, you can always read reviews, and I'm always interested in finding out about the latest marketing trick. That way, you aren't fooled by it.
People were commenting online recently about an 11-year-old boy from Manchester in England who flew to Rome on his own. He was out shopping with his mother at a shopping centre near Manchester Airport, and while she was busy looking at something, he slipped away and walked into the airport. Of course, he had no money or anything. He was only 11 years old, but he followed a family who were going on holiday, and no one noticed him. Everyone thought he was part of that family. Incredibly, he managed to get through security. It seems that no one noticed he didn't have a boarding pass, and they even let him get on the plane. Normally, of course, they check your boarding pass when you get on, but I guess they just thought he was with the family. Anyway, they let him on, and he found an empty seat somewhere. They normally count the passengers to make sure they've got the right number, but it seems either they didn't do it this time, or they didn't do it properly. So the plane took off, and he flew to Rome. Then, luckily, when he got to Rome, they found out he was on his own without a passport, and they put him on the next flight back to Manchester. Naturally, his mother was extremely worried about him, and she complained about it. Both the airline and the airport admitted it was their fault straight away, and they promised to look at their security, and they even offered her a free flight. It's incredible that he managed to get through all the airport security controls without them noticing. But, apparently, it happens quite often, and it's nearly always boys of about that age, between 11 and 14, who want to go on a plane.
Hi Tina, how are you?
Hi Mark, I'm good thanks. Listen, I just saw Sam from the newsagents. Apparently that new shop's not going to be a florist's. It's going to be a clothes shop.
Really?
Really?
That's brilliant.
Yes, that's fantastic news. Though, of course, we'd have had no problem with a bit of competition.
Thank you. I've got an email from the university. Tom, I've got a place. They've accepted me on the course.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. I knew they would.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to start.
We should celebrate.
We should. But first, I have to phone Rachel. After all, it was all her idea in the first place.
Hi.
Hi, what are you doing here?
I left work a bit early, so I brought you some cakes.
really? Oh, thank you. I was just getting hungry, actually. I haven't even had lunch yet. We've been really busy today.
Well, that's good.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Are you still worried about that new florist's opening up down the road?
Yes. Kind of. I just don't know whether there's enough business around here for 2 places.
And have you heard anything from Becky? She's got her interview today, right?
Yes. She should be there right now. I hope it goes well. She really wants a place on that course.
And finally, what kind of photos do you enjoy taking the most? You have a couple of portraits in your portfolio.
Well, taking portraits can be really rewarding, especially if the person likes the final photo. But I think, on the whole, I prefer taking action shots, sport and that sort of thing. It's so satisfying when you manage to take the photo at just the right moment.
OK. Well, that's all the questions I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, yes, I do. The course description mentions a work placement. Could you tell me a little more about that?
Of course. It tends to either be working at a local gallery on a photography exhibition or working with a professional photographer as an assistant. The placement generally lasts 2 weeks and normally happens during the holidays.
OK, and there are trips abroad too, aren't there?
Yes. Typically, each class has 2 opportunities to go on study visits per year. Last year, they went to Paris and Berlin to see exhibitions. In Berlin, they even had a private question and answer session with the photographer.
That sounds fantastic.
So how did it go?
Yeah, pretty well, I think, on the whole. But it was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I was there around 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, there was one question I didn't know how to answer, but otherwise, yeah, pretty well.
What was the question?
Oh, it was something about my opinion of a famous photographer. I'm not very good with that sort of thing.
Don't worry. Surely that's what the course is for. Did you find out much about the course?
Yeah, he told me quite a lot about it. It looks great. There's a job placement where we get to work with professional photographers, and the university itself seems really nice.
When will you find out if you have a place?
Well, normally they don't tell you during the interview, but the tutor said they'd be in touch this week.
If we're not sure where to eat, what laptop to buy, or where to stay on holiday, most of us read customer reviews. Recent research has shown that 90% of customers read online reviews, and that for nearly 70%, a positive review will make them more likely to buy a product. But can we trust online reviews? And how do we know if they are real or fake? We asked John Higgins, Professor of Digital Marketing at De Montfort University. John, are most reviews genuine?
Well, maybe 80% of the time, yes, they are, but I wouldn't say 100%. I mean, if you think about it, you're running a cafe or a small hotel. If you can get a lot of positive reviews, you're going to get more customers. And not only that, you're going to get more hits when people look on review sites. So, you can ask customers to give you a good review.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
No, not at all. But that may not be very effective, because customers usually promise to write a good review and then they forget all about it. And of course, you can't really persuade a customer to write a review for you. It's up to them. So what often happens is that small companies get their employees to write reviews, or friends and members of their family. Or they may even pay people to write fake reviews. This is known as opinion spam, and of course that is against the law, but it certainly happens. In one study in Australia, they found websites that were offering to write 10 positive reviews for $85, and they also found adverts put out by restaurants which were trying to improve their ratings on review sites.
What, offering money for positive reviews?
Yes. Some restaurants have said quite openly that they want to get good ratings and they'll pay money for them.
Incredible. But companies must be fighting that.
Oh, yes, they are. Companies like Amazon are very active in catching fake reviewers.
But can they do anything?
Well, they can warn them not to continue, and they can threaten to take them to court. In some cases, Amazon has actually taken fake reviewers to court and they've had to pay a fine. And websites like TripAdvisor and Yelp have tracking systems that can filter out false reviewers.
How does that work?
Well, their system analyzes the information that's coming in. Then if anything's suspicious, they have a team of experts who look at it more closely. It's a bit like the way a bank checks security. And TripAdvisor claims that it works really well.
So we can still trust online reviews?
I would say so, yes. But maybe not too much. I would certainly recommend reading both the good and the bad reviews, not just the good ones. And I'd also advise people to read the review carefully to see what they really say. Do they just say, the staff are very friendly? Or do they say something more personal like, we arrived late in the evening, but they gave us something to eat?
So a personal, detailed comment is more likely to be genuine?
Yes, exactly. Welcome to Pod on Pod, the podcast about podcasts. Today, we're talking to a fan in Berlin. Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
When you got in touch, you said you listened to a lot of podcasts. So how did you start?
Well, I suppose you could say that the worst part of my day used to be my commute between home and work, 45 minutes each way on the metro. And trying to make the commute more pleasant is how I got into podcasts. I mean, they'd been around for a while, and I think I'd listened to a few podcasts about cooking at home on my computer. And I knew that you could download them onto your mobile phone, but I'd never really bothered.
So, why did you suddenly start downloading?
One day, a couple of years ago, I was bored with all my music. Nothing I wanted to listen to.
Know the feeling.
So, anyway, I looked up the available podcasts on my way to the metro station and downloaded a half-hour comedy episode. It was really funny, and it was really difficult not to laugh out loud on the train. People were giving me such strange looks.
Like, who's the crazy woman?
Yeah, but the trip to work took no time at all.
'Cause you were entertained.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I got home that night, I had a really good look at the kinds of things that are available and discovered there's, well, just about anything you could want. So each day, as I'm walking to the metro station, I listen to a news podcast. It's easier to concentrate on the day's news once I'm out of the house.
Is that all you listen to in the morning?
Well, no. After the news, it sort of depends on my mood. If I'm having one of those days when the idea of going to work isn't a good one, then I listen to comedy to cheer me up. But other days, I might listen to a current events podcast. One of my hobbies is baking bread. It's something I love to do at weekends. There are a whole lot of podcasts on baking bread with different ideas and recipes. They're really interesting.
Do you listen to any podcast series?
Oh yeah, I love them. Like some of those crime stories. And every day you're waiting for the next episode to be uploaded. You can get really addicted to a podcast series.
Anything else you listen to?
Well, one other thing. Podcasts can be useful for my job. I've worked for a charity organisation for the past 4 years. We raise funds for the developing world. And there are also podcasts about that. Different projects, different ways of raising money, things like that. I've picked up some really helpful ideas by listening to podcasts.
Thanks for sharing, Andrea. And keep listening.
So you're going to Florida, Sue. Lucky you. It must be nice and warm. Not like here.
Yes, it's about 30 degrees, I think.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Where are you staying? In a hotel?
No, we've got an apartment near Miami Beach with a swimming pool. It actually belongs to my cousin, but she's going to New York, so she said we can use it while she's away. And her car.
And her car. Wow, she must like you a lot.
Well, yes, it's really generous of her. It means we're just paying for the flight. We couldn't afford it otherwise, not with the four of us.
So, what are you going to do? Are you going to travel around?
Well, it depends on the weather. It's hurricane season, so it might be quite windy. But we'll probably go to the beach for a start. We all like swimming. Then Mia, my daughter, she's really into wildlife. So she wants to go to the Everglades and see the alligators. So we'll definitely do that. And of course we're going to have to go to Disney World for a day. I don't really want to, but Mark, that's my son, he wants to go there. And he wants to go on all the rides.
Oh, come on. It might be fun. You'll enjoy it.
Yes, I might.
Sounds like you're going to be busy anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and my husband says we've got to go to Cape Canaveral. He wants to see the Apollo space rocket, so I guess we'll spend a couple of days doing that. I don't really want to go there. It's so far away. I'm not sure I can cope with so much driving. But there's no point in arguing with him about it once he gets an idea in his head.
So you're doing everything your family wants. What about you? What do you want to do?
Me? Oh, I'd just like to relax and do nothing. Sit by the pool and read a few books.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be too busy. You won't have time for that.
No.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Kathy. How's it going?
Oof, well, I've had better days.
Oh dear, what's happened?
Well, do you remember those boots I was looking at last week?
The brown leather ones?
Yes. Well, anyway, yesterday I decided to go back and buy them.
Oh, cool.
Ah, well.
Oh.
Yes, oh. I thought they were really good value when I bought them. I mean, 50% off a pair of designer boots that had just come out only 6 months ago.
So what happened? Were they the wrong size or something?
That's what typically happens to me, but no, not this time. When I got home and took them out of the box, I realised why they had 50% off.
What do you mean?
As soon as I took them out of the box and turned them over, I saw that one of them had a big black mark on the side.
That's absolutely awful. I hope you took them back to the shop.
Yes, of course I did, but...
They didn't refuse to give you a refund, did they?
Ha! Yes, you've got it. I couldn't believe it.
I'm not surprised. But how? I mean, what did they say?
Well, I went back to the shop and I found the manager and told him what had happened. That I'd been into the shop last week and tried on the boots, and then I'd gone back yesterday to buy them. I couldn't see them on the shelves, so I asked the assistant and he brought them out already in the box.
But didn't he show you the boots before you paid for them?
Well, yes, he did. He took the top off the box and asked me if everything was okay. But by that time, you see, the boots were already lying flat inside the box, so I could only see the good side of them. I didn't think to ask him to take them out of the box again.
Of course not. Why would you? So what did the manager say to that?
He told me that as a rule, they would always give someone a refund, but that wasn't possible this time because they were in the sale.
You're kidding. So what happened?
Well, he asked me if the shop assistant had shown me the boots in the box before I'd paid for them, and I admitted that he had. But I said that I hadn't realised that they were on sale because there was something wrong with them. But again, he just said that he was really sorry, but he couldn't give me a refund.
Oh, what a...
I know!
So what's happening now?
To be honest, I don't know. Jim suggested that I call a lawyer or something, but I'm not sure I want to go that far.
Oh, I'm sorry. That really is bad, isn't it?
I know. So what would you recommend I do?
Well, how about...
One.
When I was in London last summer, I went to a superb concert during the BBC Proms, which is a festival of classical music at the Royal Albert Hall. It's great to hear a symphony or a concerto when it's performed by an orchestra of professional musicians who are playing live. They played symphonies by Mahler and Beethoven, and there was also a huge choir of 80 people that sang Mozart's Requiem. At the end of the concert, everyone in the audience stood up and gave the performers a standing ovation which lasted for over 5 minutes.
2.
I've just heard on the radio that the band have been in the recording studio for the last month. They're making a new album of jazz, soul and blues songs, which they're bringing out in September. I've just listened to an amazing playlist of their old songs on the internet. It's got about 30 tracks on it, and most of them are old songs of theirs from the 80s and 90s.
Hi Mel. Listen, Ian and I were thinking of going out for a meal this weekend. Would you guys like to come with us?
Yes, that's a great idea. Where are you planning to go?
We thought about going to that new Chinese restaurant in town. It's meant to be really good.
Hang on a second. I'll just ask Tony. Sorry, Pam, but Tony isn't a big fan of Chinese food.
Okay, never mind. We could go somewhere else.
Oh, I know. How about going to that new Italian restaurant near the station?
That sounds interesting.
Yes, it's supposed to be excellent and very good value for money.
Yes, I'm sure Ian would like it. He loves pizzas and pasta.
Good. Shall I book a table for Saturday evening?
Yes, that would be perfect for us. Why don't we get a table for 8 o'clock?
Yes, okay. I'll book one.